All right, guys, how's it going? And today we are going to talk all about the best places to go camping in California. So we're talking whether it's hunting, fishing, hiking, kayaking. You guys just like to go up, camp. You're, in love with that experience of being in the wilderness, camping in a tent, whether it's, trailers, motorhomes, um, RVs, whatever you guys are out there and your interests are out there, as far as camping and everything associated with it. We're going to start naming off the best places in California that you can go visit. And the first one we're going to talk about is going to be kind of a lesser known area, and it's going to be French Meadows. So if you guys are familiar with French Meadows, it's got extraordinary campsites. It's got, these campsites that are just, there's only, I want to say about 50 campsites, but they're phenomenal. I mean, whether you want to get your tent in there, you want to fit your trailer in there, they've got just the right amount of trees, just the right amount of nature. They are extremely, well kept. They're kept up. It's, beautiful in every aspect, everything you could want in a campsite. You've got big pits, you've got bear lockers, you've got new tables, and it's definitely, there's even flush toilets. I mean, it's out there, it's way up in the Eastern Sierras, it's in the middle of nowhere, and there's flush toilets. So get that, right? I mean, there's few places you can go that are so beautiful, so out of the way, up in the mountains, and you're going to have all these different things that just seem to be everything you could want. And there's great fishing, there's great hiking trails, beautiful lake to go kayaking on. It's got all the features you'd want. One thing I want to mention about French Meadows is around 12:30, 1 o'clock to about 4:30, 5 o'clock. There's, some windy days up there. It does tend to get a little windy, so you don't want to get, into a situation maybe where you're trying to cross from one side of the lake to the other during that period. Obviously, the wind's going to tend to go one way as far as that, particular area is concerned. Usually it's south-southwest, so just keep that in mind. Another area we're going to talk about that is just really popular. Everybody goes there. Most people don't even bother going without reservations, and sometimes those reservations can get pushed out really far, and that's going to be something that, is going to be common with all these places we're mentioning because everyone loves them so much. They get a lot of people, certain periods more than other times of the year. But so the next place is going to be Yosemite. And if you guys haven't been to Yosemite, it's got everything you could want. It's got a great history. It's got a lot of animals, wildlife. It's got a lot of stores and a lot of convenient type setups that allow you to have everything at your fingertips as far as extra supplies, lots of access to water, lots of access when it comes to the campsites. They do have level campsites, which are really easy to just, set up. And, I don't know, some people, they have to bring certain levelers to level out their trailers and stuff like that. But everything's really convenient, and a lot of that has to do with the amount of people that go there every year. Sometimes it can get pushed out during the more popular times of the year, as much as 2 years. So it's one of those places, it's hard to just spur of the moment, I'm going to go up to Yosemite, unless you're going to go, in early spring, or you're going to go in the end of fall. you know, sometimes you can get an opening in a window where you can just jump up there and run up there, and there's going to be spots available. But it's got everything you could want, lots of hiking trails, lots of places, bodies of water that you can, you know, throw out your kayak on, you know, a lot of different places that you can check out. It's got different little ranger stations that give you a general history and all the different types of cool things you can check out there. Definitely recommend going there. So the next place we're going to talk about is going to be Hope Valley. Hope Valley is, I'm not sure how, you know, popular in general, because it's kind of, you know, it's out there in no man's land. It's really far up 50. It's really far up 88, Highway 88, if you guys are familiar with that. And some people use that to get to Tahoe. Some people don't. They use some other ways to get it to Tahoe, but, you know, Highway 50 being one. But this valley is just gorgeous. There's creeks and rivers all over. Some of the lakes that are associated next to it, they allow for all kinds of different types of activities. I mean, if you got a Jeep and you want to go check out all kinds of road trails and things like that, it's great. If you want to go to a creek or a river and you want to hike around it or fish it, it's got that. If you want to go to lakes and you want to fish, there's got to be, you know, a dozen lakes that are very close to that. If you're into old abandoned mines, believe it or not, there's a lot of those up there as well. Just a lot of different adventures you can go on, but most importantly, you know, there's a Hope Valley campground, which is more set up. You know, it's right on the Carson River. You've got all your standard options, you know, your standard campsites, your standard, you know, in that sense. And then there's one that is more off the grid, and this one is not too far from the one that we're talking about, but it is free. So you can get up there and you can camp for free. You got to get a permit for a fire if you have that, but I like that particular setup right there more than anything else when I go there. Another option is going to be multiple campgrounds that are along the Carson, right through that Hope Valley. They've even got cabins up there at the end of Hope Valley. A place called Sorensen's has cabins. So if you are, you know, taking somebody up there who doesn't want to rough it or is just anti-trailer, anti-tent, traditional camping, which what a bummer that is, but there is the option of the cabins. And you know, it's just it's a great piece of history. It's a great place to go and do all the things we talked about. If you're just into scenery and you like to take pictures and do a lot of photography, it's also a really great place to check out. And a lot of wildlife, a lot of animals. Definitely check out Hope Valley, California. Another place we're going to mention is going to be Loon Lake. Loon Lake is kind of on top of the world. Some people consider it, you know, top of the world, but really it's just the top of a particular set of mountains and gives you incredible views. It's definitely past the tree line, so the trees do have a tough time growing there. So it's one of those places where you're going to get a lot of big rock features rather than big, thick, dense forests. Although there are big, thick, dense forests all surrounding it, this particular area, you know, doesn't have as much right there on the top. And around that lake, there's just tons of free camping where you can pull up anywhere and camp. It's, you know, really beautiful, really pretty. It's got, once again, you know, a lot of Jeep trails, off-road trails, certain paths for hikers. Some people like to go up there and ride their bikes on those same trails, mountain bikes and such. Great place to take your kayak, great place for sunsets, great place to go fishing, take your boat. There's a lot of creeks and a lot of rivers that surround it and feed into it. So that's a great place to go. And I know that they've done a lot of recent updates and redid a lot of the campgrounds up there, made a lot of double sites, made, bigger pits, this and that, new tables. They kind of, new bathrooms and all these different things to upgrade the facilities up there. Great place to check out if you're going camping. And, once again, Eastern Sierras. It's kind of hard to beat the Eastern Sierras in this state of California. It's got everything you could want. So another place we're going to talk about when it comes to must-go places for camping is going to be Lake Tahoe. And one of the reasons that I personally think this is, one of the best places to go camping is you can essentially have the luxuries around you, whether it be the convenience of stores or gas and a bunch of other things just right there at your fingertips. And at the same time, you can camp, and there's lakes everywhere, there's creeks and rivers, and there's a lot of options. So if you're up there, you can do everything from go to the ski lifts and the lodges, and maybe you want to gamble for a couple hours and you want to go on a walk, on the strip, or you want to go over to the beach. I mean, there's so many options that it allows you or the people that you bring, the company with you, to stay active. It's hard to get bored in that particular area. You've also got all the normal activities we've talked about that, all these other places offer. You've got scenery, you've got beauty, you've got hiking trails, you've got biking trails, you've got kayaks that you can take out and go on Lake Tahoe itself or surrounding lakes. There's certain hikes you can go that go into certain areas, certain lakes, small bodies of water that have phenomenal fishing. There's a variety of creeks and rivers that have good fishing in that area. And it just kind of has, it's right there. It's kind of an intersection to, seems like, 100 options as far as going up there, and the campsites are well maintained, and they've got a big area for trailers and RVs, or maybe you bring 8 tents with you and a big group of people. They've got a lot of options for that. Just in general, it's a great place to go if you don't get to go there a lot or haven't been there very much, to go camping, and kind of also allows you to experience it, the rough version, or take some people up with you that don't necessarily want to be in the middle of nowhere, because a lot of these other locations we're going to name are going to be more in the middle of nowhere. Another location we're going to talk about is going to be Caples Lake. Caples is in the middle of nowhere. Like we just talked about, elevation 7,900 feet, thin air up there for sure. You've got big mountains, peaks. A lot of the year you've got, snow or snow packs up that way. You've got phenomenal trails to hike. You've got a huge history that comes with that area. You've got places to take your kayak or your boat, places to go fish. There's a ski lodge not too far over there by Kirkwood. You've got Kirkwood Lake right down from it. You've got Silver Lake right below it. You've got Red Lake right above it. You've got a couple other small fisheries. Margaret Lake is right there. And when I say right there, we're talking just a few minute drive. You've got Woods Lake. There's just so many places that it's a great base camp, or even just main camp. It allows you to access so many different things, variety of rivers right there, creeks. It's everything you could want and then some. And it doesn't get too crowded in that campground, but because we just talked about all the other places that are next to it, there's basically a campground at every one of those places. And some of those places, there's multiple campgrounds. And then there's just some campgrounds that are in between. So, all that and a lot more. Another particular fishery or body of water that we're going to talk about is going to be the Mammoth Lakes fisheries. The Mammoth Lake and a few lakes that surround that particular lake, the fisheries in that area, the lakes in that area, they're phenomenal. I mean, as far as all the things you could want when you go camping, there's the nature, there's the scenery, the beauty, there's the wildlife, there's the creeks, the rivers, there's the trails, there's the off-road paths for the Jeeps, there's the, just so many things, great fishing. And that is going to be, well, it's going to get really packed in June and July. So if you go up there in June or July, just keep in mind that, most of these fisheries we're talking about are popular, and in those particular months are going to be the most packed. That's when there's going to be the most people. You're definitely going to be able to, get a place to stay, but a lot of times, people prefer to make reservations, because getting up there and trying to figure out what you're going to do for, say, a day or maybe even 2 days until you find a spot that opens up, or say there's a spot that's open, but you can't stay there for the duration you want, and then you'll have to pack up camp and then move and unpack and pack up, or whatever the situation is. You don't really want that headache when you're on vacation. So when you're going up to these particular places, you definitely want to have a game plan, a backup plan if the game plan fails. Reservations are going to be beneficial in a lot of most of the year. So try to have a reservation to ensure that your trip goes smooth. The last place we're going to talk about is more or less two different places. It's going to be Blue Lakes. Some people, there's an upper blue, there's a lower blue lake. Some people like the lower, some people like the upper. The only difference is the lower is lower in elevation, and it's also going to be the more common place that people camp, whereas the upper blue is going to be a little bit harder, access wise. The roads are 4-wheel drive to get in. The roads are rough. It's higher elevation and that type of deal. So if you go up to upper blue, there's going to be less people. So if you want to get away, it's going to give you that option to get away from, the mass of people that go summertime camping. And if you want to essentially have all the benefits of the lower Blue Lake, then you can go to the lower, and they've got some really good campgrounds. They've got all the bells and whistles that you could want: bear lockers, big fire pits, a lot of double sites, a lot of areas for putting up, half a dozen to a dozen tents, and a lot of good it's a lot of good camp hosts up at these areas. So if you guys, are, the camp hosts are they're really good. And as far as all the basic stuff, you guys know the basic stuff, right? I mean, don't leave any food in your tents. Don't basically invite the animals, you know, don't leave your windows and your vehicles down and leave food in there. Don't leave your food out just while you guys are gone for the entire day. When you come back, you know, your bread, your hot dog buns, I mean, whatever it is, they're going to get into it, whether it's the birds, the squirrels, the bears. So keep all those, you know, things in mind as far as going up there. It's a bummer to have everything you need and then have everything you need go to waste and come back from a day where you're out and just be in a situation where you got to go down to get supplies or deal without. So, you know, there's a couple other places that are worth checking out, but these are the best. As far as camping in California, these are the best. And like I said, there's a couple other places that, you know, some people, they're big on going to the beach to camp, but the beaches in California have gotten out of control. So I kind of left those out because, I mean, it's changed a lot, and going camping at the beach is not what it used to be. There used to be a lot more of that going on, it feels like, and things change, some for the better, some not. There's also some places that you can camp that don't have any water access around, so they're not going to have any access to water. You're going to have to actually literally pack your own water into those locations, and they don't have any faucets or running water. They don't have maybe really any lakes or creeks or rivers nearby. And I left those off because for a lot of people, that's just not something that is practical for them. You know, I hope this helps you guys out there, and thanks for watching.